Eastern Europe, home of the most numerous Indo-European people on the continent, Slavs. Slavs inhabit a large area of the world and are numerous in numbers. They were one of the most influential people in Europe and amongst one of the most famous ethnic groups in the world stage. But how did they get to this point? How did they get so influential, and why are they such a big player in shaping what we know as Eastern Europe? To answer this question, we must look into the ancient past. Around the first millennia in the 1st century AD, when Baltic and Slavic peoples began to diverge around what we know as Belarus, Ukraine, Lithuania, and Poland, the supposed homeland of the Balto-Slavic people group. Things did not change much until the collapse of the Roman Empire and the Great Migration, which brought pressure for the Slavs to migrate to new lands, as the homes were raided and pillaged by incoming nomadic peoples from Central and East Asia, as well as Germanic and Ugric peoples, due to the changing climate and the opportunity that this collapse of the empire gave them. Around the 4th to the 7th century, massive migrations began around Eastern Europe, and Slavs found themselves living from East Germany to the Urals, from Novgorod to Thrace, and etc. Slavs in the south mixed in with the remnants of the old inhabitants, which were already few by the time that they arrived. In the west, however, they replaced some of the Germanic peoples that used to inhabit the area, and the East Slavs expanded from that point towards Ugric settlements. The ancient Slavs spoke a language that's vaguely reminiscent of the current ones, and their culture was much different but still similar to current ones. Over time, these cultures started to eventually shift due to the different environment, long isolation between groups, foreign influence, etc. The language eventually developed southern, western, and eastern dialects, and over time they shifted into the current languages of today. The Slavs were ruled by chieftains, which will later be regarded as founders of each Slavic nationality and their subsequent identities, even if some did not consider themselves as such at that time. Slavic mythology was polytheistic, similar to that of the ancient Greeks and Germanic peoples, but with slight differences. The supreme god of the Slavs was Perun, the god of thunder. Over time, they adopted Christianity, even though they were split as of what kind of Christianity to believe in, dividing the group much further. Some believed in the version of Christianity, like Bogomilism, which appeared in Bulgaria and Romania around the 9th century. The Slavs did not have any states up until the 5th century, with the founding of Salmo's tribal kingdom, which we don't know much of, other than it being an alliance of numerous Slavic tribes. The Slavs were semi-nomadic at the time, and were a problem for the Byzantines, especially the South Slavs, which were referenced as Sklaveni or Sklavenoi, which is one of the origins of the name Slav. These Sklavenoi raided and settled in the lands of the Byzantines, some even forming little tribal alliances inside the empire's territory, the most influential being the Serbs and the Croats, which shared ancestry from the Carpathians and Pannonia, also known as Hungary. Some were migrants from the previous raids and burnings that the Avars caused in the lands of Pannonia. Over time, these Slavs will develop as the Slavic nationalities that we know of today, and the moment of their history will be decisive.